Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about how to charge a Tesla battery with your RV solar power system. And a lot of people have been seeing my Tesla battery videos and they're probably confused and they're like, I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to burn down my rig. And it's true, I don't want any beginners watching this to try this. But if you've built a few systems in the past or you have some electrical engineering knowledge, it's very, very, very easy to set it up. And I want to go over some of the main points that you guys need to know if you want to build your own Tesla battery system. Because it is easy, but you just have to know exactly how to do it. So the Tesla battery runs at 24 volts, not 24 volts lead acid voltage. Alright, so in a lead acid system that's 24 volts, it would go to 32 volts when you charge it. This one can only go to 25.2 volts. And that's the maximum allowed voltage. So you guys can hook up any solar charge controller you want to charge it. And that's what we're going to talk about first, is safely charging it. And all you have to do is, red wire to the red or the positive terminal, black wire goes to the negative terminal. And it's easy, you set it up. But you need a solar charge controller that has manual profile settings. So you need to be able to change all of the parameters of your charge profile if you want to safely charge the Tesla battery. And it's really simple. All you have to do is go in there and make sure all the numbers are under 25 volts. For this one, I like to charge it to 90% state of charge. So what I do is I charge all parameters to around 24.4 volts. And then I make the float voltage right underneath that. So because I do 24.4 for all of my charge parameters, like boost and bulk charge and all of that, and the upper limit of my charging, my float is 24.3. So it's just right underneath that. So after the battery charges up to that voltage, it will drop it down and hold it at 24.3 volts. And that's really important. So all you have to do is get a manual control solar charge controller like the one that I sell on my website right here, and you're set. And once you hook up the solar charge controller, you can hook up your solar panels like you would any other system, and it will charge right up. It's really simple. The next thing that we're going to talk about is over discharging. So first thing we covered is do not overcharge the battery. Do not go over the voltage it's rated for to be charged with. The next thing is you cannot discharge it too much. If you were to deplete this battery to absolute zero, you cannot use it anymore. It is a fire hazard and you can burn down your rig. The chemistry has changed if you discharge it too much. So in order to avoid that, we have this Victron Energy Battery Protect. And what this little device does is when this battery hits 19 volts, it will disconnect the inverter and the converter. And the converter converts, to DC 12 volt, and then the inverter converts to AC 110 volt. And so what this does is it makes it so that none of the loads will take any more power from that battery. But the solar charge controller is still connected to the battery at all times. So it can still recharge, and once it recharges to like 22 volts, it will reconnect the loads. So if I leave a bunch of appliances on, and then I leave, it will disconnect all the loads until the battery is safe again after it gets charged. So those are the two first ones. Do not overcharge it. Make sure that all charge profile parameters are under the specified voltage for whatever battery you're using. And in this case, it's 25.2. But to be on the safe side, I use 24.4. And so should you. There's quite a few reasons also for that, but we won't get into that right now. And then the next thing is you cannot over discharge it. Now let's talk about the next two important points. It has to do with temperature. When this battery is at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you cannot charge it with a solar charge controller or any other charger. If this battery is freezing cold, you cannot charge it. So how you fix this problem is, first of all, insulating it and keeping it in a warm environment. Like being inside this RV right here with wood and all this other stuff to keep it nice and insulated and warm where my living area is, will keep it warm during the winter. The next thing you need is a thermostatically controlled heater pad. And I'm going to be testing them in the next couple months here while it gets colder. I'm going to figure out which one I'm going to use. Most of the time here in the Bay Area, it never reaches 32 degrees, and inside the RV, it probably won't. One way I'm also going to combat it by keeping it warm in here is by using my little heater. I have a 600 watt heater fan, And if I use one of these Wi-Fi controlled plugs with my router, I will have it only turn on every like once an hour for 10 minutes or something like that. And I'll face it directly on there so that throughout the night it will keep turning itself on. I can also get a thermostatically controlled AC plug with a heater pad, a heater blanket. I could even use one of these things right here, these little heater pads. So lots of ways of doing that. So that's going with too cold, and now the next one is too hot. If this battery gets too hot, you charge and discharge it, the life of it will decrease. And so the way to combat this is you really don't, because this Tesla battery pack has a copper coil through the whole thing, and the discharge rate capabilities and charge rate is so high, this battery will never ever heat up too much for me for what I'm doing. If you were in a situation where you are using, and I rated it because it's 1100 amps at 24 volts, you would literally have to be pulling a 26,000 watt load for this to, be at maximal. And that's when you do need water cool, liquid cooling or whatever. The most I've hit is 80 amps. Okay, not 1100. I'm only pulling 80 amps. So this battery is not going to get hot. There's no way. And considering how the cells are configured in parallel and then 6 in series, there's no way that 444, they can handle it just fine. The next thing that we need to talk about is this is a 24 volt system, but you have 12 volt lights in your RV or whatever you're using, or most of you guys do. So I have a converter, and this converter is really awesome. It's rated at 40 amps, and it supplies everything with 12 volts that I need. And I have a 40 amp breaker right here, and a 20 amp breaker right here, and a 25 amp fuse down here supplying it with 24 volts. And this doesn't actually put out 12 volts, it puts out 13.8. And I got that because that's the float voltage of sealed lead acid. Because I'm going to use this to start my generator. And you might think that's crazy, but small sealed lead acids actually have really great discharge capabilities. So if you charge it nice and slowly with this, you will be able to hook up a generator to that sealed lead acid, and it should be able to start. I also have my hydraulic system self-leveling jacks on this RV, so what I'm going to do is also power it with this. And 40 amps with a sealed lead acid, I'm going to set that up tomorrow because I'm still trying to sell my older batteries, and tomorrow I have a buyer on Craigslist. But this and a sealed lead acid in combination should work perfectly. So let's go over these real quick. Use a normal solar charge controller, change it to manual profile mode, and then change all parameters to whatever battery you need. If you're using a Tesla battery, change everything to 24.4, and then make sure no number on that whole profile is over 24.4, and then set the float to 24.3. The next thing that we have to do is do not over discharge it. Use a Victron Energy battery protect, and then set it, I think, on mode 2, and they'll disconnect it in 19 volts. Next one is keep it warm during the winter. And then the last one is the heat, but you don't have to worry about it unless you're pulling large loads. So that's all you have to think about, though, you guys. This battery is hooked up just like any other system. I know you guys are used to lead acid batteries, but this is just as easy to use, if not easier, than a lead acid battery. The problem with lead acid is that we're used to it. We're used to the charge profile, we're used to equalizing and all the other stuff that comes with lead acid. And this doesn't require that. It's actually a lot simpler. Another last thing that we should talk about is balancing the cells. For a Tesla battery, you don't have to worry about that. It has passive balancing with the cells that are in parallel, and if one short circuits, you have these little 10 amp fuses, and the max discharge capability of each cell is around 7 amps the last time I checked. But I don't know which battery that's specifically for. I think it's for this Model S one. But what that tells you, though, is that these batteries, because they are manufactured the same and they were put together in a manufactured state, you're not taking recycled cells. The resistance of each one, the voltage and everything else is really similar, and they self-balance. It's passive self-balancing. You do have 6 in series, and they can go a little bit out of balance, but if you don't charge and discharge like crazy fast, you probably will not run into any issues at all. So I hope that, makes you understand it. Do not overcharge, do not over discharge, do not let it get too cold, don't let it get too hot. And that's 99% of what you guys need to know. Everything else is pretty good. So I hope you guys found this video very useful. I want you guys to make it seem that this is easy, because it really is. I don't want people burning down their RVs though, because if any of the charge profile parameters are at like 26 volts, this thing can catch on fire and combust. Or it'll get ridiculously hot and it'll just start breaking apart and something possibly could combust. So anyways, I hope this helps you guys. Don't be scared of it. As long as you guys get those charge profile parameters and stuff, it is an amazing system and I can't wait to test it. The charge profile that I'm currently using, it should last around 20,000 cycles, I hope. So I don't think I need another battery. I think this is the only battery I'm going to need. So I'm going to take very good care of it. And like I said in the other videos, for the cost per kilowatt for 1,000 cycles is $49. So this is cheaper than any other battery that you can buy nowadays. It's incredible. Oh yeah, and the last thing, make sure you have an inverter that doesn't have a low cutoff at like 21 volts. You need a cutoff at like 19.6 or 19 volts. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below, and check out my website. There's a lot more information about all of this stuff. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.